One of the things I actually appreciated about 2024 is that it was a pretty quiet year for Marvel projects. Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine made a splash in the summer, and Echo kind of fell on deaf ears. But a combination of industry strikes the previous year, plus various production problems and delays as projects were retooled and reshot, all combined together to give us a welcome break from an MCU that had become kind of tedious and overwhelming. But just like that turd that you've been desperately holding in for a little too long, sooner or later the backlog of MCU content was gonna come blasting out into the world once again. And 2025 looks set to be the year where Marvel ruin a perfectly good pair of Calvin Kleins. I'm using so many fecal analogies here, partly because I'm an immature dick and it makes me laugh. But mostly because after reviewing the lineup of upcoming projects, I think 2025 is going to go down as the year where Marvel really did shit their pants at the box office. Allow me to illuminate you. Their first big cinematic release of the year in mid-February is almost certainly going to be their biggest box office disappointment in the shape of Captain America: Brave New Worlds. Now, I've already made an entire video going through that film's nightmarish production problems, but the high-level view is that it's a Captain America movie without Captain America, whose protagonist last appeared 4 years ago in a laughably bad TV show that saw him delivering social justice lectures and openly siding with international terrorists, led by possibly the least charismatic actress on the planet.
The terrorists only set us back a bit.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
I'm a bit confused.
A production constantly on the back foot, trying to keep up with a rapidly changing cultural landscape that's been delayed, reshot, rewritten, pulled apart and reassembled so many times that it makes the Justice League look like a paragon of creative efficiency, the end result of which is a production budget that's ballooned to at least $375 million that they'll admit to, meaning it's going to have to make well over $1 billion just to break even.
Fuck.
And no offense, but considering the total lack of interest online, not to mention releasing it into the February dumping ground, this thing ain't getting close to $1 billion. The next big, event of the year is Thunderbolts, which comes out in early May, the traditional slot for Marvel to kick off the summer movie season. It's billed as Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad, minus the swearing, violence, adult humour, fun storylines and charismatic characters of course. Can't be taking creative risks now, can we, Kevin? Directed by a guy best known for doing one episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and written by the creative genius who brought us Black Widow.
This was fun! No!
It truly is poised to be a movie of all time. Seriously though, there's no particularly big names in the actors or the characters here, so I'm struggling to find out what the draw of this movie's meant to be. It honestly feels like it would have worked better as a TV show, sweeping up all the leftovers from other better projects into their own little side quest. As it stands, it came in at a relatively lean $150 million budget, so there's at least a decent chance it'll turn some kind of profit for the studio, but honestly, I can't see it making much of an impact at the box office. Then there's Ironheart coming to Disney Plus at the end of June, a TV show so exciting that Marvel have had it in the can for over 2 years now and still haven't released it. Because I think even they've begun to realise that trying to replace one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise with a race and gender swapped teenage prodigy who's just so much better than him in every way is an easy way to blow a couple of $100 million and piss off the whole fan base. Seriously though, from what I've been told by people on the inside, they absolutely know that this one's going to be a fucking stinker. It was made in a very different time, and the cultural landscape has shifted so much since then that they've spent most of the past 2 years desperately looking for a way to Batgirl it. Unfortunately, just like the turd that's been held in too long, Marvel have no choice but to shit Ironheart out into the world and then try to flush it away as quickly as possible. It's just another expensive TV show that's unlikely to win them any new fans. After that, that, we've got the final big cinematic release of the year, Fantastic Four. A movie that feels like it's arrived a decade late to the party, starring perennial flavour of the month Pedro Pascal, because of course it is, featuring a gender-swapped Silver Surfer, because of course it does, and directed by the guy who brought us WandaVision after the original director backed out because he couldn't be arsed with superhero movies anymore. I'm with you on that one, mate. Yeah, I know Marvel comic fans are excited to see the Fantastic Four finally join the MCU, and that's just peachy. But be honest with yourselves, after the goofy Fox movies from the 2000s and whatever the fuck Josh Trank thought he was making, do you really think general audiences are going to get pumped up about a third iteration of the Fantastic Four? Do you really think the Marvel brand, not to mention the entire superhero genre, is strong enough to support a cookie-cutter superhero flick like this? I could be wrong on this one, but I just can't see a Fantastic Four movie in 2025 being the massive deal that they seem to think it is. By all accounts, Marvel are quietly shitting themselves at the prospect of this film going head to head with James Gunn's Superman, and quite frankly, they should be. I know which movie I'd rather watch, and I suspect I'm not alone in that. There's also a bunch of animated shows coming out on Disney Plus that nobody is ever going to give a shit about, and Wonder Man at the end of the year that's apparently meant to be some kind of self-aware meta-comedy about superheroes, made by the same studio that gave us She-Hulk. But hey, at least it's not all bad. The trailer for Daredevil Born Again actually looks promising, and as long as they don't fuck it up, they might actually have the start of a decent new series on their hands. That's great and everything, but it's not like Daredevil's gonna save the MCU single-handed. One successful show on Disney Plus is not gonna reverse the general trend for this year, and based on everything I've seen so far, that trend is not looking good. I've heard it said that the higher-ups at Marvel are very much aware that the franchise has gone off the rails in recent years, with an oversaturated market, declining quality, superhero fatigue and preachy activist writing all knocking holes in the mighty MCU. But before they can really fix the problem, there's a whole bunch of other projects in the pipeline that were too far along to cancel or rework, kind of like all those shitty DC movies before James Gunn took over, and so there's not much option but to just release them, take the hit in the short term, and then hopefully move on to better prospects later. It's a nice idea in theory, but it does mean a shitty year for Marvel fans who haven't exactly been drowning in quality recently, and a very expensive series of failures for the company that has to make them, and it does make me wonder if there's even going to be enough fans left over to care when the good stuff finally comes around again. Marvel might just find that their course correction is too little too late. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.